Nah, dude, that's how bands work. You know, never have I had. These guys. My band worked fucking hard. They worked for their fathers. They got contracted by the government to build prisons and work on highways and do shit like that. And they worked real fucking hard. And the parents pretty much gave the kids a choice. You could be a bohemian guitar player, or you could work with your father and afford your craft. So as they slowly built a studio, I mean, they used to come to my house to four track, but now they had jobs and money. We went from tape machines, we went from four track cassettes to Fostex Tascam 8 tracks to sim to MIDI linked um Tascam 8 tracks to make 16. Uh, then we moved to ADATs, which I like just fine. It wasn't really much fun anymore though. Once you got the ADATs in there, we had four ADATs by the time the band broke up, and I was always the studio guy. Ted let me engineer, and recording in the studio is my passion. That's what I always did. I didn't want to be in the Corvettes until I wanted to be in it. I was doing a favor for my friend Danny, and it became fun. We sucked because it was me on drums. I don't know how to play drums, and me singing. And then we were a live band. We would play. We had a lot of originals too, and we had a lot of covers. And it's just a side band. I enjoyed doing it because I could play drums. Occasionally, he'd ask me to play guitar, but that's all Danny on guitar. That's Danny rhythm, Danny singing. Uh, uh, it's always Danny. The only time we covered up shit is when somebody sucked, and then it got like a million guitar tracks. With Danny, he would just do it 5 or 6 times, and then he would perfect it. And I would help Danny. I would tune and intonate his shit to the song. I would do his tone, and that's what I liked. I was in it for Danny's weird songs because they were weird. He used to create everything with a drum machine, so he was uh, real particular about strange drum patterns, strange tribal shit, like the beginning of Revenge Fantasies, or even But when the best time I've ever had in my life was, I think, going to the Boston Children's Museum with an electronics music display they had, where you could touch interactive instruments. I was just a little boy. They were like plastic guitars, but if you touched a key, music would come out, and you could pretend to jam with other kids. But beside that is when all my life I was into modeling and sampling, and for, they had the Korg Trinity out there, the keyboard. These guys got the Korg Triton, but they wouldn't let me touch it ever because it would be an all day affair. But the one time I did get to fuck with it, I said to him, "I'm coming over to finish Futurama, and I got some floppy disks because yeah, it was just before flash drives." And I asked him to look in the manual and tell me the sample type, the bit depth type, the bit depth, and all that shit. And I was able to put it on floppies, and I came over with a bunch of samples, and I got to play sound effects, all that. Uh, Martian Landscape, I think, was the name of the preset I used on Futurama for the wind and shit like that. And Ted loaded the samples. It's just like that. I used to play tambourine on their shit. It doesn't mean I'm a cheerleader. It means I want it to sound good, like McCartney. I like that because it sounded like real punk. It sounded professional, yet it sounded like shit. But that's how we got our shit off. It was a drag though, going to new music and trying to play with them because it was the morning, and I hate the one guy. And all we would do was take whack songs. Danny's were already good, but we used to just take whack songs and make them better, make them what they should be. So there's little codes in there. Danny says, "I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna get out of here like the green light daddy-o. That's what they've been calling me forever, dude. I even have a song called Green Light Daddy-o. Danny would come over and pay tribute to me. He understood call and response. He understood that old blues ethic. Well, I'm gonna put you in mind. And it's a shout out. And you're like, oh shit. And then you catch it, and then on your next one you throw it back to Danny. You throw him in your lyrics somehow. You know? That's what it was like being around someone who appreciated me. And all my musician friends, we were all like brothers. And if we couldn't hit that brotherly bond, then we didn't fuck with you. But could you imagine if I had that Korg Triton, it would have changed my life? I would have been up there loading flutes one by one to each channel of Mellotron tapes. I've done that before too. I've actually loaded keyboards, yeah, with single notes, like 44 keys. Tried to make a Mellotron. Stopping nothing to do what I wanted. The Korg Triton, though, was something else for its time. It's a rich man's game, that music shit. But I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm glad. I'm so overwhelmed that the guy liked the guitar there. I mean, I have not heard that in 20 years. Not a fucking word, except for negative shit, too. And you're like, you're out of your mind. There's nothing good, and it's just negative. You're fucking crazy. But I'm thinking to myself, imagine if I had... I'm telling you, if I took your kid's $100 guitar, well, my guitar that I was playing was $75. I just remembered that. I'm playing a $75 guitar, with these great effects that I was able to buy years ago that come modified and boutiqued out. They do shit that other amps can't do, and then I got the new cats, and they started clawing the amps and pedals, and it's just like, oh fuck. I'd like to get back to guitar. Yeah, I'm with you though. I mean, if you want to play guitar, I've heard Steve Jones say it, but up until then, I was the one who always said that is the amphetamine made me such a good musician, because you love what you're doing, and it just keeps you in a circle where it's true. You have to credit a good of my talent if how much there is to fucking Adderall, and I can't live without the shit. It's been an addiction for 20 like 25 years. When I take that shit, I'm at my most creative. I can do anything. Back then, I'm thinking about the Corvettes recordings, and I was so fucking amped and drugged the fuck out at the same time during different parts of the session. To do the drum track, I was all on Adderall, and then by the end of the night, when I had to do extra guitar, I was just falling asleep at the motherfucker. All my best shit is gone. I don't have any of my shit anymore. I could sit here and load songs all day. That would entertain you at least. If I hadn't. It bothers me from time to time. Because it gets boring. Yeah, but usually if but isn't that what you're supposed to do for your band? I mean, you're supposed to, in the real world, you hire motherfuckers to come play on your shit secretly. You want to make a good record. You imagine if you're a producer, right? And it's like you have legal segue there to kind of gamble on your band. You're like, I need a good record from you guys. Okay? I don't care about your group. Your group is a product. It's like, okay, you're not the Pepsi company. You're this week's latest release, RC Cola. But the real motherfucker was Pepsi or Coca-Cola or whoever came first. You know what I mean? And then when bands hit the end of their life cycle, it's like remember Mars Bars? You remember you know what I mean? Do you remember my favorite, Summit? Do you remember Summit? Hell yeah. If you remember that shit, wow. Well, hopefully you remembered good. But who cares about that? It's all about making a joyful noise, and you need drugs to do it. Especially, I'm middle-aged now. It's like, But I nowadays I just need if I was to write shit, I would need my old friend back to write with because there's a magic chemistry there that goes off, and he comes with a even his brother writes a little bit, and we've been known to write amazing songs with just the three of us, me and the two brothers, the young one and Ted and me. Not all the time, but every now and again, and you get a whoa, that's a good song, you know. That's all they used to say in Albany. The band, it's just like when bands get out of loss, they'll just be like, "Well, fuck that band. It's just Rudy Two Times doing fucking everything on everything," and you're like, "Not really. I'll provide harmony. I'll play." You got Ted in there too. People would often forget Ted was in there. It's like Ted was in there redoing guitars. I didn't fuck with it. I don't give a fuck. you know, Danny was smart enough to make solos that were like just three notes or four notes. Memorable Riverdale's or Screeching Weasel type shit, and you're like, yeah, so you can always hear him in the mix. We've been known to go overboard on shit, me and Ted. When we start producing shit, it could get really Phil Spector like, you know. But the producer needs like, I forget my point with that, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Nobody goes hard like that anymore. Nobody gives a fuck. There's no brotherly bond. It's the way it is. I'd go to a studio by myself and just do everything. And a click track, I mean, the one guy, yeah, I definitely need. Who doesn't? But I mean, when you're just rehearsing and making up beats, you're not paying attention to tempo. But I got to be honest, I like drummers that lose their balance and lose their sense of time, and they start rushing shit, eager. If it's an aggressive song, because it's natural, and that's part of rock and roll is to retard air the fucking tempo or force bravo or bravas or whatever. But no, I mean it's just like you got an electric world out there. I'd be using sitars. I'd be doing industrial samples. I'd be doing Ringo type beats and everything. Lots of sitar. It'd be heavy and mellow. If I had a producer, the guy to come in and take, because most of it will be just like a jigsaw puzzle. That's how some artists work. And he'll come in and look at my huge jigsaw and be like, "Well, okay, this ain't too bad. Piece this here, piece that with this. This goes here. Let me just go ahead and arrange these." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what to do. You're familiar with it now." And if you get that magic synergy, you could do a fucking quite a bit. You know? Yeah, the producer is like kind of a producer that is a real producer, and he almost joins the band for that record. You know, that's what we used to do for each other, at least. But Ted was integral to it. Me, I stayed in home with a 4 track and a reel to reel, and I enjoyed using like basic uh um audio software, shit that could stretch tempo and keep and tempo correct samples, chop samples. It could, you know what I mean? And so I would keep it real. I use the computer just as a tool, not to be dependent on it. I miss that whole shit. Can't do that now. Fucking, it's pretty ridiculous. Someone's here yelling, chanting, "Shut up!" They need to shut the fuck up. I'm trying to talk about music. It'd be nice to know how long I had on these.